Hey Bryan High School, if you don't already know me, my name is Sam and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to apply your 2019 fall show makeup. Let's get started. If you've been around the block with me before, you know I have my foundation on, concealer, and brows. This time around I do have my eyelash extensions, so just kind of ignore those. I'm still going to teach you guys how to apply false lashes, so let's get started with the eyeshadow look. So I'm trying something new with this eye look, so I completed one side already just so we can look at it to reference it throughout the makeup look. And now I'm going to show you how to do the complete eye makeup. So before we start, I have a different palette than you guys, but I just want to show you what shades I'm using and how they correlate to your palette. So this first shade is Howland. It's the lightest lavender shade. The hot pink shade is Sandbar. Then the next shade, the darker pink shade, is 143, and then the dark purple is Try Me. So I would put them in your palette in this order. My swatches aren't that great, just bear with me. But I'll be calling out the shades as we go through the makeup look. To start out, we're going to be using a pointed pencil brush, and we're going to dip into the shade Sandbar. We're going to create this little line up here near our brow bone. So I just start with a little bit of color. And I'm just following like the underneath part of my brow bone. If you have a smaller lid, it might be a little bit closer to the actual eye makeup, and that's okay. Just make sure there's enough space in between the color and just make it work for your eye shape. Once I lay that color down, I'm just going to flick it outwards. We want the line to be a little bit cleaner on the side towards our lid and then blend it out on the other side. This is just the first color that we're laying down, so don't be worried about making it perfect. Next, I'm going to be taking this small fluffy blending brush and we're going to dip into that same hot pink shade that we just used. And I'm going to lay this down on the outer corner. I have a smaller lid, so I have to pull it out, and I'm going to drag this across my lash line, not ours. I'm going to intensify that color and just build it up, but once again, this is our first layering color here. And next, I'm going to add a little bit of color in this outer corner, small circles, and then how I achieve this blown out wing is just by flicking the color out. Like so, and you want to make sure you keep it on a nice high angle so we keep the eye look nice up and open. Next, I'm going to be taking the next darkest pink shade 143 and I'm going to add that onto the same brush. I'm going to dab the color in the outer corner and then drag it in on that same area. Keep it close to that lash line, but it doesn't have to be perfect because this is just the start of our blend. And then drag that excess color out. And then whatever's left on the brush, I'm going to start dragging this into my crease just a little bit. I'm just going to keep building the color on top, lightly blending. Always start with less and then add more. Pink can get a little bit tricky and it can be hard to go back. If you have any fallout underneath the eye, I just take a brush, just a fluffy brush, and blend it upwards. And usually that way it doesn't stick to my foundation. Next, I'm going to take my pointed pencil brush again and I'm going to go back into that same 143 shade and I'm really going to press the color in to this outer corner, and then I'm going to take the fluffy blending brush and blend that out once again. I'm going to take the pointed pencil brush again and we're going to go in with the darkest purple shade, if I can remember the name, Try Me. And I'm going to pack that in same way I did, but keep it a little bit closer to this outer corner. Really push that color in and keep it very localized to that area. So I'm basically just kind of creating like a little bit of a V shape to darken that up. And then I just keep going back in with that fluffy blending brush to blend it out better. Next, I'm going to be taking a flat packing brush and I'm going to go in with that lavender shade Howland. And we're going to pack this on to the inner half of the lid. See how we don't have that great of a blend here? That's okay because this is where we're going to fix it. So I'm packing this on to the inner half of the lid. And then I'm going to blend the excess of this color up towards this pink that we had applied earlier. Once you have the color packed on, now we're really going to go in and intensify this wing. So I have the small fluffy blending brush one more time. I have the shade 143. We're gonna blend it into this outer corner, get that wing intensified. And I'm also gonna run this along my lower lash line. You wanna make sure when you do this, even though we're using a bigger brush, that you keep it really close to that lash line. And I'm also connecting that all the way out here to this wing. Now, again, I'm taking my pointed pencil brush and the darkest purple shade. And here's where we're gonna go really intense. I know this is a lot of steps and blending. You'll figure out what works best for you to really intensify this color out here. Lastly, the lower lash line, we're gonna take the darkest purple shade and run it along the lower lash line to really intensify that there. And then also use that same shade to deepen up this accent we have up here. Once again, keep one side pretty sharp and then the other side blend it up and out. So we're gonna finish off this accent mark with a shadow last, but next step is gonna be our black liquid liner, and I'm gonna show you guys my technique, how I apply my black liquid liner. So I start on the very outer corner of my eye. I'll start marking out this line here. I'm just gonna follow the same angle that my shadow does. Start marking out the underneath line of the wing. Pull it out. And you always want to start small, and then you can add on more later. And then once I have that bottom line mapped out, then that's when I go in with the top line and drag it in across the lash line. Once again, always start small, and then you can add on more later. And if you get this little dot on your lower lash line like I just did, leave it, let it dry, and you can flick it off later. Now I'm just touching up that wing, making it a little bit more sharp. So what I was saying earlier about that little black dot down there, you can just take one of your brushes and go like that, and it just basically removes that line that you have there. And then if you have any fallout down here like I do right now, I'm just gonna go in with that brush again and press it upwards, and that gets rid of all of the fallout. Next, I'm taking the pointed pencil brush once again. We're going to take the shade 143 and map out this graphic line right here. So I like to look at myself straight on in the mirror so I can match the lines. And I really flick out the outer lines so they're not super harsh. And then you can really intensify it. Next, I'm going to be going in with the darkest purple shade to finish it off and intensify it, really build up that color in the middle. You want that inner line to be sharp, and how you get that is you press this on the side of the brush and then flick. The next step, we're going to be taking our glitter liner, and there's going to be 3 areas that we're applying this glitter liner in. And you're gonna have to layer this up. You can definitely layer this glitter, and it's gonna come out a little thin, but all of our lines are not gonna be any wider than the width of the brush. So the first one is gonna be right underneath this line right here where you have your harsher, less blended edge. Follow that line there. The next one is gonna be right underneath our wing. Follow it up and let it tail off, taper out actually, like our winged liner. And then the last one is going to be right on top of this accent line we did on our face. Now here's where you can go in and really build up that color. We're almost done with the eyes. I want to show you guys how to apply your false lashes. So how I always start out is I just take the bare lash out of the box and I apply it to my lash line. I size it up. Usually mine are too small, so I size up how much I'm gonna have to cut off. You can kind of mark and see how many notches you're gonna be cutting off of the lash. Then you wanna go in and you wanna cut from the band side of the lash, not the lash side, because you might cut off some of the lashes and change the shape of the lash. So cut from the band side, do the same thing on the other lash, then you can apply your glue. Let it sit 30 seconds, let it get tacky so it can stick, but you want to make sure that it's not too dry. Then once your lash is dry, you let it sit, it's tacky, there's enough glue on it, it's going to be amazing. Then you're going to go from a high 45-degree angle. I want you to look down into your mirror and place the lash right where your lashes meet your eyelid. And then you're going to press the middle where you think it's going to sit best. And then I press the edges and really push the lash into my lash line. So obviously I didn't actually glue that on. Then when you have both your lashes on, I want you guys to press the lash upward and make sure it's sitting up nice and high, not out flat. You want to have nice wide open eyes, good vision to see your equipment. And then you can just do any final touches, press, and that's basically how you put on your lashes. It's going to take some practice, but don't overthink it, and make sure you don't have a bunch of glue caked up on it or anything like that. Next step, we're going to be using our highlight. This is the shade of the one that I'm using. So I'm going to be taking just a pointed pencil brush. You can use your finger or whatever, a Q-tip if you run out of brushes at this point. And I'm going to place this on the inner corner of my eye, just a nice little highlight. And then the excess off the brush is going to go up on my brow bone, and you want to make sure it's nice and blended. Next, I want you to put your highlight on your finger like this. You might need to add a little bit of setting spray or water your finger. Just get that powder nice and creamy, and you're going to apply it along your cheekbone, and you're just going to press it in. And it might mix in a little bit with this, that's okay, but we want to have a really, really bright highlight that you guys are going to get in all of your action shots. And I just like to press it. If you wipe it, sometimes it wipes too much of the product on and it's going to make your face look a little crazy. So really just press that into the skin, and it's going to sit a little bit lower than your cheekbone just because of this color that we've put on here. But really build up that intensity with it. I'm just going to use the excess and apply this to the bridge of my nose. You're more than welcome to use a brush if you can get some good intensity, but I feel like the best way to apply highlight at times is just with your finger. So I applied it there. I'm going to put a little bit on my Cupid's bow right here. And that's basically it. Next step, I want you to take your bronzer. We're just going to bronze up the face just a little bit. So where I like to start is right above my temples right here. Dab on some color there, and then I bridge it together on the top of my hairline and blend it out in small circles. This is just to add some more warmth back into your face. The next area that we're going to apply it to is just a little bit above our cheekbones. It's not going to be a ton, just warming up the face a little bit. So how you find that, suck in. This is where the hollow of my cheek is, and I'm going to be applying it right here. So I'm just going to brush this small strokes upward. Make sure you're not taking off any of the highlight, and then I blend it into the hairline right there so it looks natural. So small strokes upward. And this is also going to blend in that highlight there. And that's it for the bronzer. And I'm sorry, I forgot to mention I just used an angled contouring brush. Next for the blush, I'm using my duo fiber brush, and I'm just taking the tiniest bit of blush, and I'm just gonna dab it on right onto the apple of my cheek right here. Just a little bit of color there, and now we can move on to the final step, lipstick. So you guys all have the amazing lippy stick from ColourPop in the shade Surreal. So just apply that generously. I love those lippy sticks because they're super creamy and they stay really well even if you're rubbing your lips together or you're talking a lot. This is the completed makeup look. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please let me know if you have any questions. Leave it in the comment section down below, or just shoot me a quick email. I'll leave it in the description box. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing start to your season.